Being a marketplace where anybody could sell just about anything. At its helm was Meg Whitman. 12 years later, eBay is now an $8 billion, that's with a B, billion-dollar global powerhouse. Now she's taking on a new challenge, running for governor of California. And she's written a new book, The Power of Many, Values for Success in Business and in Life. Meg Whitman, good to see you. Good morning.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I want to start off by offering my condolences because I know your mom passed away just last week, and she's someone you write about in this book because she's the person in many ways who instilled some of the values in you that you talk about in this book.
You're right. You're right. And we got to read my mother a bit of this book right before she died, and she really appreciated that.
When she, by instilling these values in you, did she do it by preaching to you? Did she drill them into you, or did she ask you to learn more by example?
More by example. You know, even from the earliest days when she and her best friend took 8 children on a 3-month camping trip across the country, because of course no cell phones, no GPS, and we just stayed in campgrounds for the entire summer. And that was the point was flexibility and courage and doing things you didn't think you could do.
Some of the things you write about these values, they're pretty basic. And you say that if you follow an ethical and true course, you can unleash the power of many. What do you mean by that?
Well, remember what the power of many is. What we can do together, none of us can do alone. And eBay was a perfect example of that. We created the trading platform, but it was eBay buyers and sellers who built the company. And we made a small number of rules. We set a course for expectations in terms of behavior. And look what happened. You know, now over 1 million people make their living selling on eBay.
You're one of these people who's trying to make this transition from business to politics. And a lot of people have tried it, some successfully, some not so successfully. You say that if you're elected governor of California, you'll be the CEO of California. And some say, well, there's a problem there because running a state is very different than running a company. How do you respond to that?
Well, it is different in many ways, but I'll tell you what's common about it. First is leadership. Great leaders paint a vision of where an organization or a government needs to go and enlist people to make change, and that's what we need in California.
Yeah, but great leadership in a company setting, they're all rooting for the same thing. They want the company to succeed. You know politics. In a state like California, 2 very powerful political parties, and at some points, Meg, they're going to be rooting against you, the opposition.
Well, I think that's right. But you know what Californians want, and I have now traveled up and down this state, the #1 priority is they want the economy fixed. They want jobs to come back. They want government spending to be under control. And maybe, you know, the fringes don't want that, but I promise you 80% of Californians want that. And if we can harness the power of the people of California, I think we can make a big difference.
Can we talk about money for a second?
We can.
You were here a year ago, just about 11 months ago, when you announced you were running for the governor of California. And since that time, you've spent, I believe, about $39 million of your own money to run for this office. And let's face it, a lot of people, we've had an example here in New York City, a lot of successful people do spend a lot of their own money to gain political office. But are you worried in these days and times with this deep recession, people out of work, people really hurting, that in some ways, by spending all this money, you're creating a disconnect? People are going to think you're out of touch with them?
Yeah. Well, we haven't spent that much money yet, for sure.
You've lent the campaign that much money.
Right. We've given that to the campaign. But you know what? I think voters are really smart. They look at the individuals, the message, and what we are doing in California is getting our message out, allowing voters to interact with me, get to know me. And voters are really smart. They will pick the best person they think to lead the state and fix, you know, jobs and get government spending under control. And one thing we haven't talked about is fixing our kindergarten through 12th grade education system. And so no amount of money can buy an election. What you can do is get your message out, and I hope that the voters will like what they hear.
Well, you're getting your message out because in the year since you visited us, you have been rising steadily, both in both sets of polls, so clearly something's working.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, Californians, they really have I think Californians are scared, like many Americans. You know, can we fix this? Will we be able to be the great state that we once were? And I have confidence we can do that, but it's going to take a very different approach, no question about it.
Might take the power of many, to use the title of the book. Meg Whitman, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Coming up next.